California coastline, its modern glass and steel architecture gleaming like a jewel against the Pacific horizon. Inside the mansion's sleek walls, Gabriel Montenegro sat in his private office on the third floor, surrounded by monitors displaying stock prices, security feeds, and global market data. At 34, he had built an empire from nothing, transforming a small software company into Montenegro Industries, technology conglomerate worth billions. Yet for all his success, Gabriel remained a solitary figure. His dark hair was always perfectly styled, his custom suits impeccable, but his steel-gray eyes held a distance that kept everyone at arm's length. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford, not after his business partner had betrayed him 5 years ago, nearly destroying everything he'd worked for. Since then, Gabriel had surrounded himself with walls, both literal and metaphorical. The mansion's security system was state-of-the-art, with cameras monitoring every corner of the property. Gabriel told himself it was necessary protection, but deep down, he knew it was also about control. In his world, information meant power, and power meant survival. Mrs. Catherine Winters, the head housekeeper, knocked softly on his office door. At 62, she was one of the few people Gabriel trusted. Having worked for his family since before his parents' death in a car accident 10 years ago, her silver hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her kind eyes held the wisdom of someone who had seen Gabriel grow from an ambitious young man into the guarded billionaire he'd become. "Come in, Catherine," Gabriel said, without looking away from his screens. "I wanted to inform you about our new cleaning specialist," Mrs. Winters said, smoothing her navy uniform. "Luna Hayes started yesterday. She'll be handling the guest wing in the observatory room." Gabriel finally turned to face her. "Background check complete?" "Of course, 26 years old. Graduated from community college with honors while working 2 jobs to support her younger sister through high school. No criminal record. Excellent references from her previous positions. She's been cleaning offices downtown for 3 years. She understands the confidentiality requirements." Mrs. Winters nodded. "She signed all the necessary documents. She seems like a good girl, Gabriel. Hardworking, respectful. She reminds me a bit of your mother at that age." Gabriel's expression softened slightly at the mention of his mother, Maria Montenegro, who had cleaned houses to put herself through nursing school before meeting his father. "Very well. Make sure she knows the restricted areas. Already done. She'll be working primarily in the guest wing while you're in meetings today." After Mrs. Winters left, Gabriel returned to his work, losing himself in quarterly reports and acquisition proposals. The morning sun climbed higher, casting long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office. Meanwhile, 3 floors below, Luna Hayes pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway of the guest wing. She still couldn't quite believe she was here, working in a mansion that could house 50 families comfortably. The pay was more than she'd ever earned, and the benefits would finally allow her to help her sister Emma with college expenses. Luna had always been small in stature but large in determination. Her chestnut hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her brown eyes held a warmth that seemed to brighten every room she entered. She wore the standard gray uniform with quiet dignity, treating her work with the same respect she'd show any professional endeavor. The guest wing was magnificent, with its vaulted ceilings, original artwork and furniture that probably cost more than most people's homes. But Luna wasn't intimidated. She'd learned long ago that hard work and integrity mattered more than wealth or status. She began with the observatory room, a circular space with a domed glass ceiling that offered breathtaking views of the ocean. The room housed an expensive telescope and comfortable seating areas where guests could stargaze. As Luna dusted the telescope's base, she marveled at how the morning light danced across the polished surfaces. The cleaning solution she used was industrial strength, designed to remove even the most stubborn stains from the mansion's pristine surfaces. She worked methodically, taking pride in returning everything to perfect condition. However, as she reached to clean a high shelf near the telescope, the bottle slipped from her hands. The cap wasn't properly secured, and the strong-smelling solution splashed across her uniform, soaking through to her skin. The chemical burned slightly, and Luna knew she needed to change immediately to avoid a rash. She glanced around the room, confirming she was alone. Mrs. Winters had mentioned that Mr. Montenegro would be in meetings all morning, and the guest Wing was typically deserted during weekday hours. The nearest staff bathroom was 2 floors down. But she had a spare uniform in her cart. Luna moved to the corner of the room, behind a large sculptural piece that provided privacy from the main entrance. She quickly unbuttoned her soaked uniform, peeling it away from her skin. The solution had soaked through to her undergarments as well, requiring her to change everything. She worked efficiently, thinking only of getting back to her duties. Luna had no way of knowing that Gabriel's security system included discrete cameras in every room, including the observatory. The camera was positioned high in the corner, nearly invisible among the room's architectural details. 4 floors above, Gabriel was reviewing security footage from the previous night when James, his security chief, had reported a possible breach. In the perimeter sensors, it had turned out to be a false alarm triggered by a family of deer. But Gabriel was methodically checking all cameras to ensure nothing had been missed. The observatory camera feed appeared on his monitor. Just as Luna was changing her clothes, Gabriel's finger hovered over the mouse, about to click to the next camera. When he realized what he was seeing, he immediately closed the feed and sat back in his chair, his heart racing. Luna had moved with such innocent efficiency, clearly, believing she was completely alone. There was nothing provocative or intentional about her actions. She was simply a young woman dealing with an unfortunate accident while trying to do her job. Gabriel's first instinct was anger, but not at Luna. He was furious with himself and his system. The cameras were meant to protect his property, not violate the privacy of his employees. He'd never considered that such a situation could occur. He immediately accessed the system's controls and deleted the footage, ensuring no copies remained on any server or backup drive. Then he disabled the camera in the observatory room entirely. Whatever security risk that might create was insignificant compared to the violation that had just occurred. For the next several hours, Gabriel found it impossible to concentrate on work. He kept thinking about Luna's face, the way she'd smiled politely when Mrs. Winters had introduced them briefly the day before. She'd looked him directly in the eyes, showing no sign of intimidation or calculations, something rare in his experience. Gabriel had grown accustomed to people wanting something from him. Business partners sought his money, socialites wanted his status, employees hoped for promotions or raises. But Luna had simply nodded respectfully and said she looked forward to working at the estate. As afternoon approached, Gabriel made a decision that surprised even him. He called Mrs. Winters to his office. "I need to speak with Luna Hayes," he said when the housekeeper arrived. Mrs. Winters raised an eyebrow. Gabriel rarely interacted directly with the cleaning staff. "Is there a problem?" "With her work?" "No, quite the opposite. There's a security matter I need to discuss with her. Please ask her to come to my office at 4 o'clock. "Of course. Should I stay for the meeting?" Gabriel considered this. Having Mrs. Winters present might make Luna more comfortable, but the conversation he needed to have was deeply personal. "No, thank you. This is something I need to handle privately." When Mrs. Winters left, Gabriel paced his office, rehearsing what he would say. He'd had countless difficult business conversations, negotiated deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But he'd never faced a situation like this. At exactly 4 o'clock, there was a soft knock on his door. "Come in," Gabriel called, straightening. His tied-out Luna entered tentatively, her hands clasped in front of her. She'd changed into a fresh uniform, and her hair was neatly arranged. Despite her obvious nervousness, she maintained her composure. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Montenegro?" She asked softly. "Please, sit down." Gabriel gestured to the chairs across from his desk. He noticed how she perched on the edge of the seat, ready to leave quickly if necessary. Gabriel had planned to ease into the conversation, but looking at Luna's expectant face, he realized that directness would be kindest. "Luna, there was an incident today involving our security system that I need to make you aware of." Her face paled slightly. "An incident? This morning when you were cleaning the observatory room? You had an accident with the cleaning solution and needed to change your clothes." Luna's eyes widened with understanding and mortification. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh no. The cameras. I thought I was alone." "You were alone," Gabriel said firmly. "And you had every right to expect privacy while dealing with an accident during your work. The fault is entirely mine for not ensuring that our security system respected the privacy of our employees." Luna stared at him, clearly expecting anger or dismissal. Instead, she found something she hadn't expected: genuine concern and remorse. "I want you to know," Gabriel continued, "that I immediately deleted the footage and disabled that camera. No one else saw anything, and there are no copies anywhere in our system." Tears gathered in Luna's eyes, but she held Gabriel's gaze steadily. "Thank you," she whispered. "I was so worried about doing a good job, I never thought about the cameras." "Luna, I want to be absolutely clear about something. This incident reflects poorly on me and my security protocols, not on you. You did nothing wrong. You were handling an unavoidable situation with professionalism and modesty." The relief on Luna's face was visible, but Gabriel could see she was still processing the shock of the situation. "I understand if you'd prefer to work in a different area of the house," he offered. "I can have Mrs. Winters reassign you." Luna was quiet for a long moment, then shook her head. "No, Mr. Montenegro. I appreciate your honesty and the way you've handled this. It shows the kind of person you are. I'd like to continue with my current assignment, if that's acceptable to you." Gabriel felt something shift inside his chest, a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. Luna's forgiveness and trust in the face of such a violation touched something deep within him. "Of course," he said. "And Luna, if you ever feel uncomfortable about anything while working here, please come to me directly." Luna stood to leave. She paused at the door. "Mr. Montenegro, thank you for being a gentleman about this. Not every employer would have handled it the same way." After she left, Gabriel sat alone in his office as the sun began to set over the Pacific. For the first time in years, his thoughts weren't consumed with business strategies or security concerns. Instead, he found himself thinking about Luna's grace under pressure, her willingness to trust when she could have easily chosen anger or legal action that evening. As Gabriel walked through the mansion's quiet halls, he passed the observatory room. Through the open door, he could see that every surface gleamed. The telescope was positioned perfectly, and fresh flowers had been arranged on the side table, touches that went far beyond basic cleaning requirements. Gabriel realized that Luna Hayes was unlike anyone who had ever worked in his home, and for the first time since his parents' death, he found himself genuinely curious about another person's thoughts and dreams. The security monitors in his office would continue their vigilant watch over the Montenegro estate. Fundamentally changed. The man who had built walls to protect himself was beginning to wonder what it might feel like to let someone inside. 3 weeks had passed since the camera incident, and Gabriel found himself looking forward to something he'd never anticipated: the brief moments when he encountered Luna during her work. She moved through the mansion like a gentle breeze, bringing warmth to spaces that had felt cold for years. Gabriel had begun timing his morning coffee routine to coincide with Luna's schedule. He would find excuses to walk through the guest wing, ostensibly checking on renovations or inspecting the artwork. In reality, he was hoping for those small interactions: a respectful nod, a warm smile, occasionally a few words about the weather or the beauty of the ocean view. Rebecca Torres, Gabriel's personal assistant for the past 6 years, noticed the change immediately. A sharp woman in her 40s with an MBA from Stanford, Rebecca managed Gabriel's schedule with military precision. She had shoulder-length black hair that she kept in a sleek bob and intelligent dark eyes that missed nothing. "Your 10 o'clock with the Japanese investors has been moved to 11. Rebecca informed Gabriel as he stood by his office window watching Luna tend to the garden courtyard below. "Fine," Gabriel replied absently, not turning from the window. Rebecca followed his gaze and raised an eyebrow. "The new cleaning girl is very thorough, isn't she?" Gabriel turned sharply. "Her name is Luna, and yes, her work is exemplary, of course," Rebecca said carefully. "Thomas mentioned she's been asking questions about the art collection during her breaks. Apparently, she has quite an eye for detail."
Thomas?
Mitchell, the estate manager, is a meticulous man in his 50s who oversaw all property maintenance and staff coordination. He had worked for Gabriel for 8 years, and his attention to detail was legendary. If Thomas had noticed Luna's interest in the artwork, it meant she was genuinely curious, not just making small talk. "What kind of questions?" Gabriel asked, trying to sound casual. "About the artists, the historical periods, the techniques used." Thomas said she seemed particularly fascinated by the Monet in the East Corridor. Gabriel felt a stirring of interest. The Monet was one of his mother's favorite pieces. She used to stand before it for long periods. Losing herself in the water lily's peaceful beauty, few people truly appreciated its subtlety. That afternoon, Gabriel made an unprecedented decision. He asked Mrs. Winters to invite Luna to join him for coffee in the morning room. The elderly housekeeper's surprise was evident, but she simply nodded and promised to deliver the message. The next morning, Luna arrived at the morning room precisely at 9 o'clock. She wore her usual gray uniform, but Gabriel noticed she'd taken extra care with her appearance. Her hair was arranged in a soft bun. She carried herself with quiet dignity despite her obvious nervousness. The morning room was Gabriel's favorite space in the mansion, with its floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the rose garden and the ocean beyond. Comfortable chairs were arranged around a marble-topped table, and the walls displayed some of his most cherished pieces. "Please, sit," Gabriel said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I hope you don't mind. I took the liberty of asking Mrs. Winters to prepare some pastries." Luna's eyes widened slightly at the spread before them. Fresh croissants, fruit and coffee, served in delicate china. "This is very kind of you, Mr. Montenegro. I hope I haven't done anything wrong." "The contrary," Gabriel said, pouring coffee for both of them. "Thomas tells me you've shown interest in the art collection. I was curious about your background." Luna accepted the coffee cup gratefully, warming her hands around it. "I studied art history in community college. I always dreamed of working in a museum." Boucher shrugged. "Life had other plans." "Tell me about those plans," Gabriel said gently. Something in his tone encouraged Luna to open up. She spoke about her childhood. Her parents had died in a factory fire when she was 18, leaving her to care for her 15-year-old sister, Emma. She'd worked multiple jobs while finishing school, always putting Emma's needs first. Emma's. In her junior year at UC Berkeley now, Luna said with obvious pride, she's studying environmental science. She wants to help save the oceans. Gabriel found himself genuinely moved by Luna's story. Here was someone who had sacrificed her own dreams for family, yet showed no bitterness or resentment. Instead, she radiated quiet strength and joy in her sister's success. "And your dreams of working in a museum?" he asked. Luna smiled wistfully. "Maybe someday. Right now, I'm just grateful for steady work and good benefits. Your insurance plan is helping Emma with her textbooks and lab fees." The conversation flowed naturally, covering art, literature, and Luna's observations about the mansion's collection. Gabriel was impressed by her knowledge and insight. She had an intuitive understanding of beauty that went beyond formal education. "The Monet in the East Corridor," Luna said hesitantly. "There's something about the way the light plays across the water. It makes me think of hope, somehow. Like no matter how dark things get, there's always beauty waiting to be discovered." Gabriel felt his chest tighten with emotion. Those words could have come from his mother's lips. She had said something remarkably similar years ago. Standing before that very painting, their morning coffee became a regular occurrence. Gabriel told himself it was simply his way of ensuring employee satisfaction, but deep down, he knew it was something more. Luna's presence brought light to his carefully controlled world. Rebecca noticed the change in Gabriel's demeanor immediately. He smiled more, seemed less rigid in meetings, and had even started asking about employee welfare programs. When she mentioned these observations to Thomas, the estate manager nodded knowingly. "She's good for him," Thomas said simply. "Haven't seen him this relaxed since before his parents passed." However, not everyone was pleased with Gabriel's newfound interest in Luna. Diana Frost, a woman in her 30s who worked in the mansion's administrative office, had harbored hopes of catching Gabriel's attention for months. She was conventionally beautiful, with platinum blonde hair and designer clothes. But her ambition exceeded her genuine warmth, Diana had noticed. Gabriel's regular coffee meetings with Luna and felt a burning jealousy. She began watching Luna carefully, looking for any mistake or impropriety she could report. Meanwhile, Luna remained oblivious to the undercurrents of tension. She treasured her morning conversations with Gabriel, finding herself drawn to his quiet intelligence and unexpected kindness. She began to see beyond his reputation as a cold, distant billionaire to the man who remembered how she liked her coffee and asked thoughtful questions about her sister's studies. One morning, as autumn painted the coastline in brilliant colors, Gabriel surprised Luna with a special request. "I've been thinking about your background in art history," he said as they sat in the morning room. "I'm considering donating some pieces to establish a scholarship fund at the local community college. Would you be willing to help me evaluate? Which works might have the most educational value?" Luna's face lit up with excitement. "You would trust me with something so important?" "I can't think of anyone better qualified," Gabriel said sincerely. "You have the academic background and, more importantly, you understand the transformative power of education." Over the following weeks, Luna and Gabriel spent hours walking through the mansion's galleries. Luna's enthusiasm was infectious as she explained different artistic movements, historical contexts, and techniques. Gabriel found himself seeing his collection through new eyes, appreciating not just the monetary value but the emotional and educational impact of each piece. During these sessions, the relationship deepened beyond employer and employee. Shared stories, laughed together, and discovered a mutual love of classical music and old films. Gabriel began to look forward to these moments more than any business meeting or social obligation. One evening, as they finished cataloging pieces, in the library, Luna turned to Gabriel with tears in her eyes. "I can't thank you enough for this opportunity," she said. "Working with you on this project, learning about these incredible works of arts, like a dream come true." Gabriel moved closer, fighting the urge to take her hand. "Luna, you've given me something far more valuable than art expertise. You've reminded me what it feels like to see beauty in the world again." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the barriers between their worlds seemed to dissolve. But Luna stepped back, suddenly aware of the impropriety of her growing feelings. "I should go," she said softly. "Emma's calling tonight to tell me about her internship interviews." As Luna left, Gabriel stood alone in the library, surrounded by priceless treasures that suddenly seemed less valuable than the warmth of her smile. The next morning brought unexpected turmoil. Diana Frost had spent weeks documenting Gabriel and Luna's interactions, taking photos through doorways and timing their meetings. She compiled everything into a detailed report that she presented to Mrs. Winters. Claiming concern for Gabriel's reputation and the mansion's professional atmosphere, Mrs. Winters, though fond of Luna, was forced to take the matter seriously. The implications of an improper relationship between Gabriel and a staff member could be damaging to everyone involved. She approached Gabriel in his office, her usually cheerful demeanor subdued. "Gabriel, we need to discuss Luna Hayes." Gabriel looked up from his computer, immediately alert to the serious tone in Mrs. Winters' voice. "What about Luna?" Mrs. Winters placed Diana's report on his desk. "There are concerns being raised about the nature of your relationship with her. The frequency of your meetings, the special projects, the time spent alone together, it's creating talk among the staff." Gabriel's jaw tightened as he scanned the report. The photos and detailed observations painted a picture that, while not explicitly improper, suggested favoritism at best and scandal at worst. "Who compiled this?" he asked coldly. "That's not important. What matters is protecting both you and Luna from harmful gossip. Perhaps it would be best to limit your interactions, or consider reassigning her to a different area of the property." Gabriel stood and walked to his window, his mind racing. He realized that his feelings for Luna had grown beyond professional respect or friendship. The thought of losing their morning conversations, of not seeing her gentle smile or hearing her thoughtful observations, felt unbearable. But he also understood the position she would be placed in if rumors continued to spread. Luna's reputation and job security could be jeopardized by his selfish desire for her company. That afternoon, Gabriel made one of the most difficult decisions of his life. He asked Rebecca to inform Luna that their art evaluation project was complete and that their regular morning meetings would be discontinued. Luna received the message with grace, but Gabriel could see the hurt and confusion in her eyes when they passed in the corridors. She maintained her professional demeanor, but the light seemed to have dimmed from her face. For several days, Gabriel tried to convince himself that he had made the right decision. He threw himself into work scheduling back-to-back meetings and late-night conference calls. But the mansion felt colder. emptier without Luna's presence in his daily routine. Mrs. Winters watched Gabriel's mood darken with growing concern. She had hoped that creating distance would resolve the situation, but instead, both Gabriel and Luna seemed miserable. The joy that had briefly returned to Gabriel's life was fading, replaced by the familiar walls of isolation. Elena Vasquez, Luna's closest friend among the staff, noticed Luna's sadness immediately. Elena worked in the mansion's kitchen and had become like an older sister to Luna over the past months. She was a warm maternal woman in her 40s with graying hair and kind eyes that reflected years of wisdom and experience. "Mia, what's troubling you?" Elena asked one afternoon as she found Luna sitting alone in the staff break room, staring out at the ocean. Luna tried to smile, but tears gathered in her eyes. "I think I've made a terrible mistake, Elena. I let myself believe that Mr. Montenegro saw me as more than just an employee, but I was wrong. The moment there was talk, he cut me off completely." Elena sat beside her friend, offering comfort without judgment. "Sometimes, Luna, men like Mr. Montenegro have to make difficult choices. To protect the people they care about, maybe his distance isn't rejection. Maybe it's sacrifice." Luna shook her head. "It doesn't matter. Need to focus on my work and Emma's education. Can't afford to lose this job because of foolish romantic notions." But even as she spoke these words, Luna couldn't forget the warmth in Gabriel's eyes during their conversations, or the way he had trusted her with something as precious as his art collection. Those moments had felt real, honest, and mutual. As the week progressed, Gabriel found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on business matters. He would catch glimpses of Luna working in distant parts of the mansion. Always professional, always dignified, but no longer meeting his eyes. The silence between them felt like a physical ache. Thomas noticed Gabriel's distraction during their weekly estate management meeting. Usually sharp businessmen seemed distant, making uncharacteristic errors in judgment and forgetting important details. "Sir, if I may," Thomas said carefully, "perhaps you should consider what's truly important to you. In my experience, protecting someone you care about sometimes means fighting for them, not pushing them away." Gabriel looked at his estate manager with surprise. Thomas rarely offered personal advice, focusing strictly on professional matters. "I'm trying to protect her reputation," Gabriel said quietly. "The disparity in our positions, the potential for gossip with respect," Sir Thomas interrupted gently. "Miss Hayes is a grown woman capable of making her own decisions. Perhaps you should trust her to choose what's best for her own life." That evening, Gabriel stood in the observatory room where this journey had begun. The camera remained disabled, but the space held new meaning now. It was here that he had first truly seen Luna, not just physically, but as a person deserving of respect and dignity. It was here that his carefully constructed walls had first begun to crack, as he gazed out at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Gabriel realized that Thomas was right. He had been making decisions for Luna without consulting her, assuming he knew what was best. But Luna had shown remarkable strength and judgment in every situation. She deserved the chance to make her own choices about their relationship. Gabriel spent that night planning what might be the most important conversation of his life. He would be honest with Luna about his feelings, about the concerns that had been raised, and about his desire to find a way forward together. But ultimately, the choice would be hers. The transformation that had begun with an accidental moment, captured on camera, was approaching its next crucial phase. Gabriel Montenegro, who had spent years building walls around his heart, was finally ready to tear them down. If Luna Hayes was willing to help him, the autumn storm that battered the California coast seemed to mirror the turmoil in Gabriel's heart. For 2 weeks he had maintained his distance from Luna, watching her move through the mansion like a ghost of her former vibrant self. The decision to step back had been intended to protect her, but Gabriel was beginning to realize that his well-intentioned sacrifice was causing more harm than good. It was Elena Vasquez who finally forced the issue. The kind-hearted kitchen worker had watched both Gabriel and Luna suffer in silence long enough. Despite the risk to her own position, she approached Gabriel directly as he made his solitary way to his office one morning. "Mr. Montenegro," Elena called softly, her accented voice carrying years of maternal authority. "May I speak with you, please?" Gabriel paused, surprised. Alina had worked at the mansion for 3 years, but they had never exchanged more than polite greetings. Her round face was serious, her dark eyes filled with concern. "Of course, Alina, what can I do for you?" "It's about Luna," Alina said without preamble. "She's heartbroken, sir. She won't say it directly, but I can see it in her eyes. She thinks you've lost interest in her, that she was just a momentary distraction." Gabriel felt his chest tighten. "Alina, the situation is complicated. With respect, Mr. Montenegro. I've raised 4 children and been married for 25 years. I know complicated." Lena's voice grew stronger, drawing courage from her conviction. "That girl lights up when she talks about your conversations about the art project you worked on together. And you, sir, if you don't mind me saying, you've been walking around here like a man who's lost his best friend." Gabriel stared at the older woman, taken aback by her directness. In his world of corporate politics and careful diplomacy, such honest emotion was rare. "There are concerns about impropriety," Gabriel said quietly. "About the difference in our positions." Lena's expression softened. "Mr. Montenegro, my husband was a construction foreman when I met him. I was a bank teller. With a college degree, people said we were from different worlds too. But love doesn't care about bank accounts or job titles. It cares about the heart." Before Gabriel could respond, Alina continued, "Luna is proud, sir. She won't fight for something she thinks you don't want. But if you care about her, then you need to be brave enough to fight for both of you." Lena's words echoed in Gabriel's mind throughout the morning. As he sat through a board meeting discussing quarterly projections, he found his thoughts drifting to Luna's smile, to the way her eyes lit up when she discussed art, to the gentle strength she'd shown in forgiving the camera incident. Meanwhile, Diana Frost was growing increasingly frustrated. Her report had succeeded in creating distance between Gabriel and Luna, but it hadn't achieved her ultimate goal of positioning herself as Gabriel's romantic interest. If anything, Gabriel seemed more withdrawn than ever, barely acknowledging Diana's attempts at conversation, determined to eliminate Luna permanently. Diana decided to escalate her campaign. She began spreading subtle rumors among the staff, suggesting that Luna had used inappropriate means to gain Gabriel's favor. The implications were ugly and unfair, but Diana hoped they would force Luna to resign in shame. The whispers reached.
"Ow."
Luna threw sidelong glances and hushed conversations that stopped when she entered a room. At first, she tried to ignore them, focusing on her work with increased determination. But when she overheard 2 maintenance workers speculating about what she must have done to get the boss's attention, Luna felt her world crumble. She sought refuge in the observatory room, the place where her journey at the Montenegro estate had truly begun. As she sat among the stars and telescopes, tears finally came. She had worked so hard to maintain her dignity and professionalism. But now people were questioning her character based on malicious gossip. Gabriel found her there an hour later. He had been looking for Luna throughout the mansion, driven by an urgent need to finally have the honest conversation they both deserved. When he saw her crying softly in the moonlight, streaming through the glass dome, his heart broke. "Luna," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. She looked up quickly, wiping her eyes and attempting to compose herself. "Mr. Montenegro, sorry, I should get back to work." "Please don't go," Gabriel said, moving closer. "We need to talk." Luna stood stiffly, her professional mask sliding back into place. "If this is about the rumors, I want you to know that I never said or did anything to encourage them. I've conducted myself appropriately at all times." "Luna, I know that." Gabriel's voice was gentle but firm. "The rumors are cruel lies being spread by someone with their own agenda. I don't believe them for a second, and it won't matter if I transfer to a different position or even leave entirely," Luna said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe that would be best for everyone." "No," Gabriel said, with such intensity that Luna looked up in surprise. "Wouldn't be best for me." He took a deep breath, knowing that the next words would change everything between them. "Luna, I've been a coward. I let fear and concern for propriety drive me away from something beautiful we were building together. I told myself I was protecting you, but really, I was protecting myself from the possibility of being hurt again." Luna's eyes widened, but she remained silent. Gabriel continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. "The truth is, I've fallen in love with you. Not because you're beautiful, though you are. Not because you're intelligent and kind, though you're both of those things. I've fallen in love with the way you see the world, the way you find hope, and beauty even in difficult circumstances. I've fallen in love with your strength, your integrity, your capacity for forgiveness." Tears began flowing down Luna's cheeks again, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. "Gabriel," she whispered, using his first name for the first time. "I know the obstacles are real," Gabriel said, stepping closer. "I know people will talk, will question our motives, but I also know that what we have is genuine and rare. I'm willing to face whatever challenges come our way if you're willing to face them with me." Luna looked into Gabriel's eyes and saw, not the distant billionaire, but the man who had treated her with respect from their very first meeting. The man who had deleted compromising footage and apologized for a violation that wasn't his fault. The man who had trusted her with his precious art collection and listened to her dreams with genuine interest. "I love you too," she said simply. "I tried not to. Tried to keep it professional, but I can't help how I feel." Gabriel reached out slowly, giving Luna every opportunity to pull away. When she didn't, he gently cupped her face in his hands, wiping away her tears with his thumbs. "Then we face this together," he said softly. Their first kiss was tender, filled with weeks of suppressed emotion and the promise of a future neither had dared to imagine. When they finally parted, Luna rested her forehead against Gabriel's chest, listening to his heartbeat. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we stop hiding," Gabriel said firmly. "I'm not ashamed of loving you, Luna Hayes, and I won't let anyone make you feel ashamed either." The next morning, Gabriel called an all-staff meeting in the mansion's main hall. Such gatherings were rare and usually concerned only major policy changes or important announcements. The employees gathered with curiosity and some apprehension. Wondering what their enigmatic employer had to share, Diana Frost positioned herself prominently in the front row, hoping that Gabriel was finally going to address the Luna situation. In a way that would vindicate her actions, Mrs. Winters stood to one side, her expression carefully neutral, while Elena Vasquez watched from the kitchen doorway with hopeful eyes. Gabriel stood before his employees with the same commanding presence. He brought 2 boardrooms around the world. He was impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit, but his demeanor was warmer than anyone had seen before. "Thank you all for gathering on short notice," Gabriel began, his voice carrying easily through the large space. "I wanted to address some rumors that have been circulating regarding myself and Luna Hayes." A murmur went through the crowd, and Diana leaned forward with anticipation. "First," Gabriel continued, "I want to make it absolutely clear that Luna has conducted herself with complete professionalism throughout her employment here. Any suggestion to the contrary is not only false, but malicious." Gabriel's steel-gray eyes swept the room, landing briefly on Diana, who began to look uncomfortable. "Second, I want to address the nature of my relationship with Luna. Yes, we have spent time together discussing art and various projects. Yes, I have come to value her insights and her company greatly. And yes, these professional interactions have evolved into something deeper." The room was completely silent now, everyone hanging on Gabriel's words. "I have fallen in love with Luna Hayes," Gabriel announced clearly. "Not because of any impropriety on her part, but because she is an exceptional woman of intelligence, integrity, and grace. She has asked for nothing from me, except the opportunity to do her job well and to be treated with respect." Gabriel paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "I know that some of you may find this situation unusual or inappropriate. You are, of course, entitled to your opinions. However, I will not tolerate gossip, rumors, or disrespectful treatment of Luna or anyone else in this household." Mrs. Winters nodded approvingly, while Alina smiled broadly from the kitchen doorway. "Furthermore," Gabriel said, his voice taking on a harder edge, "I have reason to believe that certain individuals have been deliberately spreading false information in an attempt to damage Luna's reputation. This behavior is unacceptable and will result in immediate termination." Diana's face went pale as Gabriel's eyes found hers again. "Luna and I are both adults capable of making our own decisions about our personal lives," Gabriel concluded. "We ask for your continued professionalism. and respect as we navigate this new chapter together. Thank you. As the staff dispersed, buzzing with excited conversation, Gabriel approached Luna, who had entered the hall during his speech and stood near the back with tears in her eyes. "How do you feel about being publicly claimed by a stubborn billionaire?" Gabriel asked softly, taking her hand. Terrified and exhilarated, Luna admitted with a watery laugh, "Are you sure about this, Gabriel? There's no taking it back now?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," Gabriel said, lifting her hand to his lips and pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. Mrs. Winters approached them with a warm smile. "If I may say so, you two make a lovely couple." In Luna. "Dear, I think it's time you started calling him Gabriel instead of Mr. Montenegro, don't you?" Over the following months, Gabriel and Luna's relationship blossomed in the open air of honesty and acceptance. Gabriel gradually introduced Luna to his business associates and social circle, taking pride in her intelligence and poise. Luna continued working at the mansion, but her role evolved to include managing Gabriel's charitable foundation and art acquisition projects. The community college scholarship program they had developed together became reality. Funding education for dozens of students from backgrounds similar to Luna's. At the dedication ceremony, Gabriel watched with love and pride as Luna spoke eloquently about the transformative power of art and education. Emma visited frequently from Berkeley, quickly becoming like a younger sister to Gabriel. Her environmental science projects fascinated him, and he found himself funding marine conservation efforts that she recommended. Diana Frost had quietly resigned the day after Gabriel's announcement, accepting a generous severance package in exchange for signing a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement. Her departure was barely noticed amid the positive changes sweeping through the mansion. 1 year after their first conversation in the observatory room, Gabriel proposed to Luna in that same starlit space. He had commissioned a custom ring featuring a rare blue diamond surrounded by smaller stones arranged like constellations. "You brought light back into my world," Gabriel said as he knelt before her. "Will you marry me, Luna Hayes? Will you help me become the man I was always meant to be?" Through happy tears, Luna said yes, knowing that their love story had grown from an accidental moment into something beautiful and enduring. Their wedding took place in the rose garden overlooking the Pacific, with Mrs. Winters as matron of honor, and Alina catering a feast that brought together Gabriel's sophisticated business associates and Luna's humble but loving extended family. Emma served as maid of honor, beaming with pride for her sister's happiness. As they exchanged vows at sunset, Gabriel looked into Luna's eyes and saw not just his bride, but his partner in all future endeavors. Luna saw not just her husband, but the man who had treated her with respect when she was vulnerable, who had fallen in love with her mind and heart, rather than seeking to possess her. "I promise to always see you clearly," Gabriel vowed, "to respect your dreams and support your goals, to be worthy of the trust you've placed in me. I promise to love you not despite your walls, but because you chose to tear them down for me," Luna replied. "To build a life with you based on honesty, respect, and genuine partnership." As they kissed to seal their union, the guests erupted in applause, but Gabriel and Luna were lost in their own perfect moment. The security cameras that had once captured an accidental encounter now recorded a celebration of intentional, enduring love. Epilogue. 5 years later, the Montenegro Foundation for Arts Education had become one of the most respected charitable organizations in California, funding programs that brought art and music to underserved communities. Luna, now Luna Montenegro, served as its executive director, bringing the same grace and intelligence to philanthropy that had first captured Gabriel's heart. Their home remained the clifftop mansion, but it was transformed by love and laughter. The walls that had once held only priceless art now displayed Emma's environmental photography and pictures from family gatherings. The observatory room had been converted into a nursery, where their 6-month-old daughter Sophia took her afternoon naps under the stars. Gabriel had learned to balance his business empire with the joy of family life. He was still a formidable businessman, but employees at Montenegro Industries often remarked on his increased empathy and his innovative employee welfare programs. Alina Vasquez had been promoted to head of household staff, her wise counsel valued by both Gabriel and Luna. Mrs. Winters, now in semi-retirement, served as Sophia's beloved nanny. Delighting in the baby's bright eyes and curious nature, Emma had graduated from Berkeley and accepted a position with the Montenegro Foundation, developing environmental education programs that combined her passion for science with Luna's love of arts integration. One evening, as Gabriel and Luna sat in their favorite spot in the morning room, watching the sunset paint the ocean in brilliant colors, Luna reflected on the journey that had brought them together. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't been reviewing that security footage that day?" Luna asked, cradling Sophia in her arms. Gabriel smiled, wrapping his arms around his wife and daughter. "I prefer to think that somehow we would have found each other anyway. Love has a way of breaking through even the strongest walls." "Even accidentally," Luna laughed softly. "Especially accidentally," Gabriel agreed, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "The best things in life usually are." As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, the Montenegro family sat together in perfect contentment, living proof that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the most unexpected moments. The security camera that had once captured an accidental encounter now watched over a home filled with laughter, love, and the promise of many more beautiful tomorrows. The end.